All right, sorry about that. One of the issues is there's about a 15-minute time limit on YouTube videos, and so sometimes they say they don't, but I don't know. So anyway, I always try to stop it at 15 minutes because it always gives me problems if it goes any longer. So I'm just going to finish up. Should only be a few minutes. Um, so I talked about sort of the introduction of the internet really came about, World Wide Web, in 1992, but really wasn't well known until like probably 95, 96, 97 in popular usage. But of course, what's interesting about that is it's quickly changed. And a few just kind of computer related historical things. The personal computer was kind of brought about as a possibility because of the fact that they moved from vacuum tubes to semiconductors. That allowed for computers to get smaller and smaller, and they also became more accessible. And that was probably the 70s, 60s, 70s. But personal computers really didn't become popular until the 80s and late 80s, probably really popular. And then because there was no connection between them, they were really just office tools at that point. They weren't necessarily devices for people to communicate. Now, with the internet, that made possible for computers to have even more uses and made the personal computer more common. But then you got the tablet. That was invented in 2006, or first came on the market. Very popular, especially among medical professionals who could enter everything, carry it between appointments, things like that. The iPad was invented in 2010. That revolutionized the the industry as a sort of a really advanced tablet. And by 2013, all tablet and iPad sales have actually outpaced the sale of laptops. So basically, we're seeing a move away from even like the personal computer as a desktop device as something that's has to be small enough that it's carryable. Um, you know, my iPad's pretty nice. I'll just say this from personal experience, but I'm working on it right now. But I also have my computer up because sometimes it's just the computer has its benefits as well. Because I just have a hard time typing on my iPad, and I don't like the little keyboards. I like the big one, and so I don't know that they'll ever completely go away, but definitely, the fact that that is one big thing that has changed with that form of communication. Now, the book talks a lot about the history or the implications on society. It talks about like voice over internet, which is like phones through the internet. That like Vonage and other things were real big for a while. They still are using that. As a matter of fact, if you call the college, that actually uses voice over internet technology. It's all done through college servers, the voicemail and everything. And so, even a lot of phone systems are really just internet, just a way to process the internet data. And so the phone, to a certain degree, ceases to be its own network system and has become really just part of the internet. That has allowed for all communication. Has become the conduit or the mass communication, the device through which all this information is processed. Probably today, the bigger things going on are probably the streaming of video, streaming of music, streaming of things like that. Streaming is probably the biggest thing. Probably how that's changing it, how that's impacting business, how that's impacting cable providers, TV providers, how that's changing people's viewing habits. Instead of people feeling like they have to be available at certain times to watch things, they no longer have to do that. And I think that probably one of the interesting things about all that is that that's where we're at right now. That's the really big thing. But I think 5 years from now, um, it will probably be something completely different. And that's kind of what's interesting about the internet is 5 years from now, it'll be how this is impacting workplaces, how this is impacting not just on a very basic level, how it's impacting perhaps the travel industry with virtual reality. People don't go places. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, it's all a guess at this point. I can't imagine that being the case, but in some ways I can imagine it being the case. And so where that's going to be, I don't know. But definitely that is where the internet and how it's impacted, and definitely something by which I think one of the things with the media deprivation project is the idea for you to see how much the media actually plays in your life. That way you realize how much it does change your life and the way you process and experience the world, and perhaps can take stock in that. All right, I will see you on Thursday. And thank you, Internet, for making it possible for me to deliver this lecture and to be able to attend my Aunt Betty's funeral without feeling at all guilty about having to cancel this class. Not that you guys would feel like I had slighted you, probably. Anyway, and you get to come into my home today. I'll show you one last little thing here. There's some of my kids' artwork over there. Picture of the library in my hometown. And then this is my favorite thing here. This is a headline I wrote one time that apparently Jay Leno put on his TV show and his headlines because it was silly, and I was trying to write something silly, and so I had had pictures that they put on the internet. I printed them off and have it up here, and the headline is "City Unsure Why the Sewer Smells."